Today with us, Colin Big Bear Ross. We're going to discuss masculinity, femininity. Colin is going to talk more about the masculine part, and I'm going to ask him questions about, femininity, what he thinks is feminine, and for our female listeners out there to be reminded that we can sometimes lean back a little bit more and relax and receive. And for the guys out there, masculinity. It's a huge topic, I feel, out there in society. A lot of people are confused. There's a lot of mixed messages out there of what is masculine, what is feminine. What would be your spontaneous take on that topic, Colin?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. So there are a lot of people out there that are so confused with the word feminine or masculine, and they make up their own notions in their head to what it means. Like, oh, this guy's masculine, like maybe he's like an alpha or he's acting aggressively or something like that. It's totally not what masculine is. All right. Masculine is like the protector, side of yourself, right? You have to think of like yin and yang almost, all right? The symbol yin and yang. Well, we all have masculine and we both have feminine energy within us, right? And it's about finding the balance in the middle to truly start, walking into that amazing power that you have. And some of us as men, we fall into this masculine mask, you know what I mean? We label ourselves with this, like, I'm a big, tough, strong man, I don't need to talk about my feelings, or, strong men even, right? Because that's the nurturing side, right? That's the side that you can be vulnerable. That's the side that can help you to really heal, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it's important to have that balance. If that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. What I would like to add to that is, I feel when you are living in a wounded masculine energy, let's say, when you still think that aggression is the masculine way, you will also attract women that are also still wounded. So they think, oh, aggression is so sexy and attractive. And that's when the whole mess starts, because then you are kind of caught in that role. And there's not a nurturing, understanding relationship starting, but a relationship based on sex and aggression, for instance. Do you understand what I mean by the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine? Like, have you observed that too?
Oh God, yeah. Like, there's so many of my friends, even myself, have grown up in those toxic relationships where, like you'll see, like, there's an abusive relationship and you keep wondering why they keep coming back to each other. You're like, you just don't understand it. It's like, why are they with each other? They're so toxic for each other, right?
Yeah.
But that comes down to habit. That comes down to past traumas. It could be due to lack of a father in the home. There's so many different things that could be triggering that. Because we all, everything comes from our childhood, right? Our childhood traumas, right? And we bring that through us as we grow older, right? So, a girl, who is used to being abusive or having to be abused, that could come from her father for all we know, right? And that's something that she's experienced growing up her whole life, so she doesn't know any other way, right? Mm-hmm. And so she thinks, she's in this healthy relationship, but really it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah. And the steps out of it are usually very tough, like to get out of an abusive relationship, a toxic relationship. And then afterwards, I feel sometimes it's ingrained so deeply that people who are used to abuse and toxicity are searching for that again, because that's home. That's what they're used to.
You're falling back into old habits, right?
Exactly.
It's like I'll put it in like a very easy way for people to understand. Okay, so it's like for 10 years of your life, when you start drinking from however young you are, okay, so when you're happy, you have a beer, right? And when you're sad, you have a beer. Like, that's the go-to. And throughout 10 years, you create that habit. So every time, alcohol is not good for you. It's a depressant. You know what I mean? It's not going to make you happy. It might for the moment, but the next day you're going to be pissy. You're going to be, moody because you're hungover and you're basically putting poison in your body, right? Now your body has to flush it out. So, but you're getting caught into that long-term habit of what you know over 10 years. Mm-hmm. So just an easy way to put it, right?
Yeah. Like, what would you say are the first steps to reframe relationships, or to reframe the idea of what is healthy, what is good, or what not? It is probably awareness, but to have that awareness, where do we go from there?
Well, if we're talking about somebody that this is all they know, they don't know anything else except these toxic lifestyles and everything, this is basically hitting rock bottom and remolding your entire life, so this comes down to self-love. This step comes down to being alone with yourself, being able to be alone and loving yourself, and not for just a short period of time. Like, you need to do this for a long time, and you need to deal with those traumas. You need to start identifying all these unhealthy traits that you've been living, right? And then, and when you start to become healthy, and you will eventually, once you start putting in the work, mind, body, soul, you start eating good, you start working out, you start spending time in nature, you start to look at the little things in life, right? You start to heal, right? And then once you start to really become healthy, that's when you can finally give back healthy. So first things first, when you're coming out of a relationship that's toxic like this, is you need to be selfish. You need to think about yourself, your own well-being, and your number one, self-love. You be able to look at yourself in the mirror. And if you can't do that, that's a self-love issue. Yeah.
And it can be a very, very lonely path. You said that earlier, that you went through times of extreme loneliness when you started healing. And I feel for a lot of guys, sometimes it's tough to make sense of why a relationship like broke up, ended. And I feel we as women, like, we have it easier. We're quicker to blame and shame the others. And sometimes we're not aware that we as women can be very toxic as well. You don't have to talk about your personal experiences, but you can. Have you heard about women who have that behavior where, as a guy, you feel so confused? You're like, well, she plays the victim, but she is obviously not. Like, she's manipulating the situation, but I don't know as a man how to react. Have you heard of a story like that, or maybe experienced it yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've totally experienced it myself. I was in a long-term relationship with a girl for a long time, and she was deep in addiction. I was in addiction, you know what I mean? And, I was trying to power both of us out of it. and I always came off as the asshole, right? Because I was like the hard liner, like, we need to get our shit together. We need to get, going, and we need to get help kind of thing, so she became a victim to me, right? Because, I'm trying to like enforce these things, right? And, at first you enforce things gently, you know what I mean? And then by the end of the relationship, it's so broken. You're basically screaming at each other, So now they're a victim, you know what I mean? And they victimize themselves because, because of the anger that's coming out between the two of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's easy to do that. Men do the same thing. They victimize themselves as well, and when you wake up and you realize, I'm not a victim anymore, that's when you really start to take back your power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a very complicated situation to be in. It really is.
Yeah, because it's so confusing and you don't know if you are right about the feelings you feel. You feel angry, you feel maybe even depressed, and then the other person makes you feel worse and saying, yeah, it's your fault. It is because of you. And you're like, wait a second, like, but what was her part? When was she accountable for anything that happened? And like, I feel that sometimes, not often enough, like, women don't see that they were part of the destruction as well. And guys have a tendency to react aggressively and to shut down. And that's scary. And that's something you can call somebody out on. But women do just as much destruction in being avoidant or passive aggressive or withdrawing sex or manipulating, gaslighting, and it's stuff that it's harder to put a finger on, though. It's more difficult to explain when you're not in that situation, and it's more difficult to call a person out on. When it comes to that lonely path that you were on, when you realized, okay, you have to get better, you want to get out of that toxic circle of relationships, were there any practices, any like habits that you started doing on a regular that helped you to feel better?
Yeah, 100%. Like, literally, when I came out of that point in my life from that toxic relationship, I had to remold my entire life. You know, you have to reconfigure all your habits. It comes down to habits and choices. Okay, so you have to stop the drugs, you have to stop the booze, you have to cut off the relationship. You know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
can't keep that person in your life. You have to heal. So you have to walk your own path, and that means you have to walk alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I did. And for a while, I walked very lonely. When after the relationship ended, I was still abusing drugs. I was still hiding my pain through, not talking to anybody, right? And it was a very devastating time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you wake up and you start to speak your truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to speak your truth and you realize that you're living a lie, and yeah, everything looks outside and you're smiling and everything, but really you're broken inside,
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you really have to do that inner work. That's where the self-love comes in handy. That's where you need to sit down with yourself and literally write down, like, what's my goals? What's serving me, what's not serving me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to take what's not serving you and you need to throw it in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to start writing down what's working for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to church every day working for me? Is going to support groups, are they working for me? going to the gym, that helps release all the negative energy throughout the body. Going to the gym is like, that is my go-to, because when you go to the gym, well, when you're done at the gym, how do you feel? How do you normally feel when you're done at the gym? You feel like you have accomplished something. You feel good. You want to drink good water, want to eat a healthy meal. You don't want to go eat a cheeseburger after the gym or have a cigarette. You know what I mean? Once you start putting in the work, your body naturally starts craving what it needs, right? It's just following that intuition to do those things, right? Make sure you're eating healthy, make sure you're drinking good water, and I took on a spiritual life.
Yeah. No, your story is extremely inspiring, and now you're a spiritual leader yourself, and you have a huge platform where you support other people. When it comes to men, would you say, like, is there any platform or maybe online groups that you can recommend when somebody is struggling with shame, addiction, constantly failing relationships? Is there something you can recommend?
Well, yeah, there's lots of support groups out there. You just need to search for them. Honestly, it takes 1 second. Get your smartphone out, Google, support groups. They have ones for CA, that's Cocaine Anonymous, AA, Alcohol Anonymous, NA is Narcotics Anonymous. They have Smart Recovery. They have ones, I'm sure there's ones for relationships, everything. And, if that's not the case, then you can go buy a book even, you know what I mean? There's so many different avenues that you can take. That's the best thing about these smartphones is you can jump on YouTube and you can start listening to people mentoring about relationships and whatnot, right? Like there's endless information, right? And, you can take the good from what you read and listen to there and see if it works in your life, apply it to yours, right? You can keep trying as many things. That's the best thing about life. You can try as many things as you want, and then eventually you're going to find out what works. It's like, man, I really like listening to this iPod, this podcast, this Aurora girl, she really hits a lot of good points, right? When people are hurting, and they're trying to heal, their tendency is they do search. And sometimes we get caught so much in our emotions that we don't know what to do. And that's where, people like me and you come in handy, and we can help point them in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what the Big Bear motivational movement is all about, right? You have a huge platform where you inspire people, not daily, but hourly, I feel, or 10-minutely. Like, I feel you're always there and you're available and ready to talk to people and lift people up. And it's incredible how you were able to dig yourself up from a deep dark hole to now become this motivation for so many, and leader and heart-driven leader. That's why you are on my show, is that I know that you do it for the right reasons. You pull your energy from the right source, from your heart, right?
Yeah, and to take on a venture like I am, having a worldwide support group is basically what it is. You have to have the right intentions. You have to lead from your heart.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take on, and yeah, I do make myself very available for people who actually want help. There's some people who just think they can call me or message me and I'm just going to fix their problems for them, loan them money, but they got the wrong idea. I'm here to help draw you a blueprint when you can't draw one yourself, on what kind of actions you can take to live a happier, prosperous life. And I'm living proof, and I was in the darkest of valleys, and I brought myself out of it. And you know, and I stumble still sometimes, and that's because I'm a human. I'm not perfect, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have my rainy days like everybody else, but it's learning from those rainy days, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn from those. So then every time you do fall, a little bit more easier to get up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I feel a lot of times it's also about not taking it personally, not saying, oh, yeah, this is because life is so hard or because I'm such an unlucky person. No, it is because it's part of life. Change is part of life, suffering is part of life. Um, you just got to see it, like you said correctly, as a lesson, and then hear from it, move on from it, and try again. Don't give up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and because people, you know, we like to be our own worst critics, right?
Yes.
And we beat ourselves up. It's like, okay, I stayed sober for a year, and then all of a sudden I drank one night. Oh my God, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm a terrible person. No, you're not. You're not a terrible person. You're an amazing person. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? You just had a little flaw one night, you
Yeah.
know? And that's when it comes to, you know, acceptance. You know what I mean? Accept what happened and move on, because that was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
This is the moment. The moment right now, this is life. Living in the moment, when you can truly live in the moment without distraction of everything else, of what's gone on in the past, what's going to happen in the future, and it's just me and you right here. You're living in that very moment.
Yeah.
That is truly living life. You are walking in your power.
Yeah.
And that it's beautiful, because then you get to see all the beautiful things in life, you know, the wildflowers, you know, the fresh coffee in the morning, you
Yeah.
know, the nice cleansing showers, and
Yeah.
you know, the soaking up the sun, the work becomes, it no longer becomes work, because you're enjoying what you're doing, I
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
You know, and if not, you know, start to plan a goal so you're doing something you do enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Colin, I respect you so incredibly much, and what you say there is the absolute truth, that appreciation and living in the present is and intention is going to make you live with more depth. And then if something is out of line, if something doesn't feel right, you can adjust and make changes. If we're not present with our life, then unconsciously, like, things build up and we become unhappier because we're not aware of our environment anymore. And you just did that huge step of leaving the town you were living in for so long for another town. I'm not dropping names here. How was that for you? Like, there must have been a buildup of, no, this is not good for me. I need something else. And then you took the huge jump and left to find something new. Um, how was that for you?
You know what? It was absolutely liberating. The world is ours, you know, and when people say that, it truly is. And you know, where I was living was not healthy. You know, I know everybody there. You know, there's an excess amount of drug and alcohol abuse going on there. You know, and just the energy I was picking up there, and running into people, you know, from my past and things like that. It just wasn't serving me anymore. You know, as bad as I wanted to stay in Lethbridge and help people, you know, and do my work, I wasn't living healthy myself. So I needed to step out of there. I figured in my head, like, you know, I actually got on my knees and I prayed about it. I said, God, I said, you know, please help me. Give me a way out, you know? And And when I say praying, some people will say you ask the universe for it and it'll come to you. You know what I mean? The law of attraction. So you can look at it any way you want, praying or the universe, whatever. I'm not here to preach about religion or anything like that, but I asked for that. I set my intention that I needed out and to be in a healthy place, and God brought me to where I am now. And he gave me a job opportunity. He gave me a beautiful roof over my head. He gave me beautiful nature I get to wake up to in the morning. Like, these are the things that help you heal, right? So I'm surrounded by it right now, and it's absolutely amazing. I've only been out here, just a couple of weeks now, and I can tell the difference. I'm getting up at 6:30, sometimes even 4:30 in the morning, ready to go again. I wasn't doing that back home. I was laying in my bed. Sometimes I wouldn't even get out of my bed, and that's depression. And you need to snap out of that, and you need to acknowledge that quick, or else it's going to get a lot worse real fast.
Yeah.
And that could lead back to relapse, drug addiction again, and go down the whole rabbit hole all over again. And I realized what things were happening, and I acted on it.
Yeah. And it also takes a lot of self-worth to do that step, because a lot of times we realize, oh, that situation is not good for me anymore, but I don't want to give up the other people. I want to keep helping them. And you tell yourself lies to stay in that situation where it's not good for you. So it not only took you courage, but knowing that, no, your well-being is so important, and you will not be of service for any other person out there if you're not taking care of yourself. And you took that huge step. And I don't know if you have a filter on here on Zoom right now, but your complexion, the glowing in your eyes is back. I can see the fire, and I know it's Mother Nature and you being happy and proud of yourself, and we're all benefiting from it. Like, it's so cool. So cool. Yes?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have a saying: heal yourself and heal the world.
Yeah.
Right. And where I wasn't healing myself, so even if I was trying to help other people, I wasn't gonna be good. I was just gonna drain all the energy I had left. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yes.
So that's why I made the change. I've decided I'm gonna empty my cup right out, fill it up so it's overflowing, so I can start my work again, and I can start helping people again. You know what I mean? And I can start moving in the direction I want to, because these things are going to happen to me no matter where I go, right? You have these ups and downs, but this was a good move.
Yeah. No, incredibly powerful. Colin, we're coming to an end here with our episode. It doesn't have to be our last. We can always make another one. What would be the number one, or maybe two advices for guys and maybe girls out there, if they are feeling that a change needs to happen, they want to take better care of themselves, what would be the two first baby steps for them?
Okay, so let's say you're at rock bottom, okay, and you don't know what to do. The first step that you're going to need to do is to get sober, to get thinking with a clear mind, a healthy mind, and don't worry about all the other stuff, because all the other stuff is irrelevant if you're living in this deep darkness. You need to get rid of these demons out of your closet. So getting rid of the addictions, the booze, and then you got to start cutting people out of your life, the toxic people out of your life. And and I call it walking alone. It was a stage in my, I'll talk briefly about it. There was a stage in my addiction where I called it walking lonely. I was a lost soul, just walking around, using drugs, working, living in this very low vibration, and I was lost. I was truly lost. And when I went through my awakening and I started to realize that I can take my power back, and I'm going to take my power back. I walked alone, I did walk alone. I cut out all the bad people out of my life. I changed my phone numbers. Anything that would trigger me in any way, shape, or form was gone. And then I had to learn how to love myself. And I learned how to be alone. I had to cry a lot, and then I started reaching out for support. I started reaching out for help, and I started going to support groups. I started going to church. I even started going to Bible, groups, working out, all by myself, right? And it's the consistency, right? You have to be consistent every single day. I wake up, I put on positive music, I say my prayers, I have a shower, I visualize negative coming out of me through the water down the drain. I do push-ups, sit-ups, in my room, whatever, kickstart my day, go to the gym. And then I come back home and I write down my plan for the day. We need structure. You need to start building structure. Right? If you don't have a plan to follow, you're just waking up and being bored for the rest of the day. You need to make a solid plan, and then you need to follow through with it. So make the goal, right? Act on it, and then it becomes reality. Okay, it's 3 very simple steps. Goal, put in the work, it becomes reality. Boom. Your life is starting to work for you.
Yes. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much, Colin, for sharing all this. I know we brought a lot of value to people out there and insights about you. I will make sure that I put your platform information into the show notes. And people can contact you on Facebook very easily. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have Big Bear Motivational, which is one of my platforms. And then I also have the Big Bear Movement, which is like a support group there as well. And then I have bigbearmovement.com, and that's where I sell I have my own clothing line, Big Bear, you can see right here, product line. And I even have a team of holistic online healers. So you can talk to life coaches, energy healers, things like that. It's a great place to get to start if you're looking for some help and some guidance. These women are very professional. They're at the best at what they do. And I wouldn't have them there if they weren't. So
yes. Thank you so much, Colin.
Blessings.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening to this interview. I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel hopeful for the future. If you're struggling right now, know that there's always people out there you can reach out to. And if you are struggling to find a purpose, then know that spending time with yourself and reflecting about the decisions you want to make in the future will shape your future. And if you are aware of yourself and your surroundings, then you will be aware of the things that are good for you now or things that have to be addressed. I will be here very soon again. In the meantime, you can reach me on Facebook, Aurora Eggert. And leave us a review on Apple Podcast. And we will be out there very soon again. Bye-bye, and thank you.